Hello all, I hope you're all doing well. We're continuing with our weekly portion review, and this week we are getting near the end of the book of Genesis. In 2 more weeks, we are in the portion of Vayigash, and he drew near. This is speaking about Judah confronting or pleading in front of Joseph with regards to his brother Benjamin, right? We had the whole debacle of Benjamin. Joseph ultimately reveals himself to the brothers in this portion. Jacob is invited down into Egypt, and we also hear of the success story of all of Joseph's economical changes that he did and he made in Egypt with regards to the dream interpretation of Pharaoh's dream. In this specific week, I want to focus on a silent character who really appears, which is Benjamin, right? The youngest brother of the 12 brothers. And really throughout most of the portions, we see this very intense struggle between Joseph and his brothers, and primarily with Judah, but also with Reuven and Shimon as well. But throughout this entire struggle, it's really revolving around one character, right? Who doesn't actually say one word, and this is Benjamin. And we already know that the sages have discussed that on the breastplate of the high priest, he had many different gemstones, each one representing one of the tribes. And the color for Benjamin was jasper, but in Hebrew it's yeshpeh. And in Hebrew that is yeshpeh. There is yesh, peh is a mouth. Right, so the sages spoke about there is a mouth, but it doesn't speak, meaning that Benjamin had a voice and had a mouth to speak, and he could have spoken about the sale of Joseph, but he decided not to reveal it. And he could have voiced his opinion, but he also decided to say nothing. And the entire debate, really, among the brothers surrounds this unique figure of Benjamin. Now, there's almost nothing is actually conveyed out of his mouth, like we said, but Judah does say something significant about him, and he mentions with regards to Jacob and Benjamin, and his soul is bound with his soul, right? So the soul of Jacob is bound to the soul of Benjamin. And in other words, that the direction of Jacob as in Israel, as in the Israeli history itself, ultimately is determined to some extent by Benjamin, because he's tethered to it. And this is also evident in our biblical history. So we know, for example, during the revolt of Shiva, the son of Bichri, he's from the tribe of Benjamin, and here we see a big separation of the northern tribes with the tribes of Judah. Now, if he would have been successful, this could have been the end of the tribe of Judah, and we wouldn't have heard them ever again. And then it would have been the northern tribes of Ephraim, which would continue the Israeli history. However, that revolt does ultimately fail. And during the reign of Rehoboam, right, the king of Judah, Benjamin ultimately joins Judah against the northern tribes. And this was really what caused them joining together, what really caused the tribe of Judah to remain in our historical consciousness. And while the 10 other tribes really were exiled and erased from history, hopefully they'll return. Now, we see that there's an immense amount of importance to control, so to speak, over Benjamin. And this is really what's being debated among the brothers, right? Who's going to inherit the soul of Jacob? And who is going to then be able to take the family into the future. So it's understandable that because Benjamin is the only one among the brothers who's actually considered the ideal Jew, he's the youngest, so he's like the last out of all the prototypes, so to speak. And also the Torah emphasizes his youth, right? They let us know that he is the youngest one, and in a sense, he's the future. So the struggle over the Israel identity always revolves around the future identity. And I wouldn't say not only that, but it's also Benjamin is the only one that's actually born in Israel proper, right? So in Hebrew, there's something called the sabra, which is a type of thorny plant that you have in Israel, but means that you're bred and born in Israel. So here too, it's quite unique, unlike the other brothers that were born abroad. And in this sense, he's really the only one where there's sort of a normal nature of a nation, right? It's from the land of Israel, and he was born in the land of Israel. So we see in full force in Benjamin. We could add one more element, which is he ultimately unites the brothers because of his silence, right? So it seems that it could be that his real silence, we could be thinking that he's nervous or he's scared or he didn't feel comfortable or he's too young, but really perhaps is guided by a deep consideration, right? Benjamin potentially understood that each one of the brothers only represents a certain aspect of the Israeli identity. And all these disputes come from an incorrect desire to impose one of their own colors, so to speak, on the rest of the other identities, right? Each one, Reuben wanted it, and Simon wanted it, and Judah wanted it, even Joseph wanted it. But Benjamin understood that the divine presence only ultimately dwells through a unity of all the colors, right? And as we learned in Ethic of Our Fathers by Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, who said, "All my days I grew up among the wise, I found nothing better for the body than silence," right? Which is, he realized that he would surround himself by these wise men, but it's precisely the silence that gives room for all the expressions to manifest and ultimately achieve some sort of synthesis. So it's true that Benjamin himself was the cause of the nation's unity ultimately. And when it becomes clear that Joseph is not going to give up and Judah is not going to give up, it forces the brothers to come to some sort of reconciliation and to reunite and actually bring some peace among them. And that's why our sages also tell us in the Talmud that the divine presence only dwelt in the Benjamin portion. Even though he was rested on the portion of Judah and Benjamin on their shoulders, the divine presence was only there. And this is a message really for our generation, that if we want the divine presence to dwell among us, we have to include all the parts of the nation and all its different colors and hues to create the Jew of the end of days. And this is true also to our Christian and Noahide and Muslim brothers who have to look into their own denominations and try to create unity. So with that unity, we could have a clarity and understanding who we are orienting ourselves towards. Shabbat Shalom.